Hi everyone, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. So today I am working with the new Tim Holtz Distress Cracked Leather Cardstock. Try and say that fast. There's lots of different things you can do with it. It's got a really fun like orange peel texture to it, and I've worked out tons of different mediums we can use on it and different techniques, and I'm going to be sharing them all today along with my tips and tricks. So let's get started. This is how the cracked leather cardstock comes. You can either get a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card front size pack, or you can get 8 1/2 by 11 sheets. And you get 10 sheets or 12 sheets, so you can choose what works best for you. And it depends on your project, of course. But lots of different things. There's even some ideas on the back about using distress ink, stains, paints, crayons, all sorts of different things. Now, I've tried a few different ones out, and I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks. Let's just get it all out so we've got it. So the first thing is about ink blending. So let's start with that. I'm going to take my Easy Clean matte portion and pop that on here. I'm going to grab myself an ink blending tool, and I've got the new Hurley Tropical Tango ink. And so I'm just going to load up an ink blender. And so you can see it really kind of highlights all of those cracks and things on there. And you can go light or dark and things. But if I lift this up, you're going to see you can really highlight those cracks. It gives you a really fun texture. But something else I tried was, you see I got this really nice stripe on this side. And it was so easy. So all you have to do is take a distress ink, or this, I use the Oxide. This is tea dye. And I'm a lefty, so I'm afraid I have to turn it. I'm going to just move it out the way of the green. And I literally just took this and swiped it down. I mean, how easy is that? And then just depending on how much ink or how many times you go over it, you can do different directions. You can make these really cool stripes. You could, you know, like a tape off an area, or just put a highlight down the edge of a piece of cardstock on a card. And you can create that kind of effect. And it looks like really vintagey and cracked and leathery. Super, super fun. So there's some ways you can use this. You can also, I'm going to take a piece of kitchen towel here and some water, just clean this off. So this is super easy to clean, just like that. This is the mat that comes on the side of your glass platforms. This is the one that comes on the large platform. I was just practicing upstairs. So I also tried out distress crayons. So if you've never tried a distress crayon, they come in all the distress colors. This is how they look. And I did a great couple of classes for scrapbook.com on them. They have little twizzles so you can keep winding them out. But they are great. So this is distress crayon, just put on and then left to dry. Now distress crayon, once it's dry, take a little bit to dry, but once it is dry, it's not going to move unless you apply water to it. So, you know, I can go over this, it's not going to go anywhere. Then I tried a couple of different things. I took my distress crayon and I put a little bit of water on my finger, just like that, super simple, and then I just started rubbing. You can see that's how I created this solid area. I could also go lighter with my finger and just kind of put it in like that. And you see now, so that was dry. Now that my finger is wet, I could reactivate it. But it's only going to reactivate with water. Otherwise, it really is completely permanent, which is a really cool feature of distress crayons. This one I put crayon on, and I literally, while it was still wet, before it dried, was I just smudged a little bit. And it gives you that fun color technique on there as well. So again, distress crayons are going to give you some really fun techniques on your new cracked leather cardstock. I keep getting tongue-tied with it. So that's another option for you. You can also do your traditional ink smooshing. And again, you're going to get some really fun things. So let's choose some complementary colors in here. I'm going to go with some pink. And I'm going to go in with some purple. And there's some really pretty new colors in this. And then you can add extra colors afterwards. Let's grab a piece of cardstock. I'm going to grab just regular water, pour it up as normal. And you can see I can start picking out that color. The pink is super pale. You can just about kind of see like a nice blush in there. But then what you can do is wipe down, give it a quick dry. And I just love how doing this technique, because it's a little bit thicker. It's like the weight of a watercolor cardstock. So you get some really nice textures by just having that cracking in there. I'm just going to dry this off on the side. I just want it to be reasonably dry. It doesn't have to be bone dry. But you can see here, like here I have more patchy and some of that cracking has gone away as I've got it wet. Here I've got the cracking with the cracked leather, but I have like that watercolor blush effect, which I love. I really like this new Guppy shade. It's an orange. And so just because it's a muddy combination I'm using, I'm doing one and then the next. So I can just add, you know, patches in. But I love how these colours, and just look how this looks once you've dried on that cracked leather. I think it's super cool the way you get, like, you know, some will be light, some will be more kind of blush. Really a really fun texture. So again, this is the one I did before, and I put them on at once, and I realized that if you did them separately, they don't go into the mud that I got down here. So there's a top tip on there. So that's another way you can use the Distress new cracked leather cardstock. So you can also put paint and stains on, and that brings me on to the Distress Oxide. So here I took my ground espresso stain, excuse me, and all I did was I sprayed it all the way over in my splat box, and I did it in here because you just don't get the same amount of mess. But you can, again, look at that. It really does look like leather with that chalky texture. Here I faded it out a little bit, all of those kinds of things. So lots of ideas. And I'm going to show you another thing you can do with this. You can take a stencil and add even more texture. So while I get this out, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, of course, and give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video, because it really does help us. So you can take any stencil, pop it over the top, give it a light mist with water. It doesn't have to be a whole puddle. And then we're just going to take a piece of paper towel again. And I'm lifting off ink. So I'm going to do a little bit more. You want to do less and then just do it a couple of times rather than doing too much and it bleeds everywhere and then you don't get the effect that you want. Okay, so now I can lift this up. And now you can see how I faded out different areas. Doesn't that look cool? So you can do that with any texture, any color, anything. And of course with the oxide, any water that bleeds, you're going to activate that oxide in it. And then also you get that really fun texture underneath. So again, just a fun technique, another way to use it, another way to create something a little bit unique. So there's two different ways in there as well. I haven't counted up how many, but there's just tons of different ways to use this. And then this is the other way I'm going to show you. And you might notice there's little bleached areas in it that give it extra texture. I'm going to show you how to make those. So I'm going to do it on my Easy Clean mat. You'll notice my Easy Clean mat is a little bit stained. This technique does stain it. You could do it on your glass area if you wanted to. It doesn't bother me. I just do it on here because I like how it looks. So let's take, I'm going to do this Tropical Tango, and we'll do some Sike in here. This is another one of the new colours. So I'm going to take both of these colours, pop them down, just like that. And then we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol. So this is regular alcohol from the drugstore. Give it a good spritz. Grab your cardstock and put it down a little bit like an ink smush. So I'm just picking up lots of colour. You can see I'm just creating a fun background on here. You can also do this same technique by adding in things like Archival inks. This technique works really well with Archival. So we could add a splash in of Seafarer. Again, pop this down. Good spray with our isopropyl. Let's go and pick up some more colour. So you see here how it's going to pick this up. And these are different inks. So you can turn any dye ink into alcohol ink. We have a video on how to do that. And you can create some really fun backgrounds. So I'm just going to dry this off really quick. Clean up, again, just isopropyl alcohol, kitchen towel, gone. Make sure this is dry. Just like that. So remember, you can take your Archival inks, spray them with isopropyl alcohol, it's going to lift out colour. And then I'm going to take this new Simon Hurley background stamp. This is a really cool background stamp because you can stamp it whole like this, or there are little areas like this one that just pop out. So you can use these as individual stamps. You don't just have to use it as a whole background stamp. Or you could stamp the background and then stamp the individual pieces in a different colour, which I think is kind of cool as well. And then on here, what I'm going to do is give it a really liberal spray with isopropyl alcohol. I'll give it just a second. And then I'm going to place it down, and you're going to see the pattern from my stamp come through. And you might have seen Wendy Becky do this too. It's a super cool technique. But where I've just stamped out, so I'm going to lift this up so you can see, these dark areas are forming those flowers. So as this dries, this one's a little bit lighter, but you can see you start to get those bleached out areas. It's a very subtle pattern, but it's really, really pretty. And you can do it as many times as you want. So again, I can make my stamp wet. Remember, ventilation too. And you're looking for this to come through. You see here, I've got a really strong pattern. And so now you can see, there you go, a really lovely strong pattern that you can see there. And that's going to dry like that. You can see it's already starting to dry over here. And then you're going to have this background technique in there. So make sure this piece is dry, and then be pretty liberal with your isopropyl alcohol too, so that you get that fun background in there. So you can do all sorts of fun things, but even just this background on the textured leather looks really pretty. I can see the flower stems and that in here, but just remember, you can take dye inks and then add alcohol to them and get a different effect than if you added water to them. It's just going to be a different idea. You can then also, you know, spray it with a regular spray, and then if you want to lift with a stencil, you can see that texture in there too. You could do the same lifting with water on the background you created like this too, because it's water-based. You can also try out the crayons as well. Remember, play around. Once they're dry, unless you put water on them, they are there for good. And then finally, you can try with a pad, or you can try ink blending. And then again, you could lift with a stencil. So now that I blended over here, I could take my Hedgehog Hollow Circle stencil, which comes out of our subscription box, and you can spray, grab kitchen towel, dab, and I like to just keep my fingers there just in case I want to do it a couple of times. Or you could create a hinge with a piece of tape, whichever you prefer. I'm going to do it once more. It's a little bit too much water. Let's see what we end up with. So again, this one had a little bit too much water, but you can see still down here where it started to bleach out a little bit. Distress inks you'll find you are stronger, particularly the Oxide where it reacts, but you absolutely can do it with anything. You can even just take water droplets and drop them on and just lift out different areas so you can have it lighter rather than darker. But having that texture behind it, you're going to find you have a whole host of new things you can do. You can still use your microglazes on it, your paints, your stains, your Oxide sprays, your Oxide inks, your dye-based inks, your Archival inks, all of those mediums, but just play with that texture and really enhance it as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, and of course join our community. I will be back tomorrow with another tip, trick, tutorial, or maybe something a little bit different. In the meantime, happy crafting. Check out the links below. And if you are a Hedgehog Hollow Perks member, you can go over to Reinker and save on all of these supplies with your exclusive coupon code. I'll see you then. Happy crafting. Bye.